Quant is absolutely pumping at the moment. It is up over 400% from its lows in June, and it seems to be showing a lot of relative strength versus the rest of the market. So the question on a lot of people's minds right now is it too late to buy Quant? Should we be buying into this pump? Should we wait for a bigger pullback? And is Quant even a project that we should be buying at all? And today I will be doing my best at answering those questions by going through exactly what Quant is, what Quant does, the catalysts that are actually driving this recent rally in price, and also what my thoughts are on the future of the Quant network going forward. Without further ado, let's get straight into the show. And as we can see, Quant has been on a tear lately. It did wick up to $227. It has recently come back down to $183. So a little bit of relief from upside, which I think non-holders are quite happy about right now, actually getting this little pullback because it has been the unstoppable coin of the market. Now, Quant is one of these payment real-life use case narrative-driven projects, similar to something like an XRP, which are really being driven by real-world partnerships, which they are currently signing and pioneering in the payments and traditional financial space. We've seen KuCoin actually run out of liquidity on Quant. It said that its total Quant holdings in the margin market actually reached their maximum limit. And then we also saw a few days ago, Crypto.com were draining out of Quant. Only 47K Quant left because obviously there was so much demand for the token that some exchanges started to experience liquidity issues. And the same thing on Coinbase. So much hype right now, which has resulted in some exchange shortages, and also the social dominance on Lunar Crush has been exploding for Quant. We can see that it has increased by over 209.6% for social contributors on Twitter and YouTube. Social engagements are up 226%, which is absolutely insane. That's just over a 1 month period that we have seen a massive increase in social contribution. So there's no doubt that it is the hyped token right now. There's no doubt that it is the token that everyone has their eye on, and it is one of the strongest performers. If we even go back and we look at Quant's all-time price chart, we can see it is making that run towards all-time highs again. Now it is only down 58% from all-time highs. Compare that to something like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, which are down in the 70%, even BNB's in the 60%. Quant is down less than those, and it has shown more strength in the meantime. So let's go through what Quant actually is, what Quant actually does, and if we should be investing in it. But before we get into any of that, remember, the trading comp started yesterday. I haven't opened my first trade yet because I was waiting for a pullback in the market. When I think there's a good opportunity to open a trade, I will let you guys know. My bias is slightly long, so I am waiting for potentially a bounce off this level here, but I'm just going to wait for confirmation on that before I do anything crazy because Bitcoin is still lagging the stock market at the moment. So I will probably open that trade on tomorrow's show, potentially. But in the meantime, make sure you're set up with an account if you're getting involved. There's a link in the description for a Banter BitGet and a Banter ByBit account where the prizes are $100,000 and $55,000 respectively. So it's our biggest prize pool we've ever done for a trading comp. If you finish in the top 10, you can win up to $10,000. It's pretty insane. So if you want to get involved, links in the description. All you need to do is sign up for a Banter ByBit or BitGet account and then click the registration link for your respective exchanges and obviously deposit $250 and you can get started and potentially win some prizes. So yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. Hopefully I can try my hand at some luck in some of these trades. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I'm a little bit confident going into this one because I learned a lot from the last one. So that should be a lot of fun. And let's get into Quant, all the Quant talk. So essentially what Quant is it's a solution which provides the flexibility to support a wide range of use cases for reliably, securely, and scale necessary for commercial, national, and international implementation. So basically what they are doing right now is facilitating central bank digital currencies. We know that is a big narrative at the moment. They're driving the issuance and the transactions for CBDCs, commercial stablecoin issuance and transactions, and tokenized money to settle as a payment layer. Think of this similar to what XRP is doing because it's ISO compliant, which is obviously the international payment standard issued by SWIFT. Quant fits under that category. So it can facilitate payments under the international standard, which means the network is suited for traditional financial usage. So this may be in the implementation of CBDCs and it may be in the implementation of banks. But there was a really good thread which broke down what it is. because Quant is like an interoperability layer, right? It's not just like an L1. It's a layer. It's a tech stack which allows other blockchains and other payments networks to plug in or talk to the Quant network itself. So Sabo did a really good mega thread on what Quant was, and he essentially labeled it as an enterprise level gateway that can connect and allow organizations to interact with each other, which is a vision that has been put forth by Gilbert Verdian, who is the CEO of Quant, who has worked in the traditional financial space for a long time. We'll get into who he is in a second. So Quant aims to deliver enterprise-grade interoperability for the secure exchange of information and digital assets across any network, platform, or protocol at scale with no extra overhead. Since inception, it has gained a lot of traction. It joined the Digital Pound Foundation this year. It partnered with the trading platform LCX. It has an over-ledger network establishment, and it partnered with LAC Chain. So these are the partnerships. LAC Chain is a global alliance by the Inter-American Development Bank. SIA, which is one of its other major partnerships, which you're probably seeing being talked about a lot right now, is an Italian tech company which has banking and finance sectors. Quant is powering both of these, both of their payments settlement platforms for the crypto space. It is also partnered with Oracle, which is the world's largest database management company offering software and technology. So the partners it has is one of the main reasons why it has shown a lot of strength. And one of the main reasons, one of the main driving factors behind the price as well. But in terms of the technology itself, it has a very interesting way of executing on this vision, and that is via using an over-ledger platform. This is essentially a distributed ledger technology, so DLT, which is designed to harness the power of interoperability. What this does is it interconnects private and public data while maintaining the security and speed of the network, allowing them to develop a financial system. So we can see a quick graphic on how that works. I won't get too far into the tech because I know most of you aren't so interested in the technology. You'd rather just hear about some of the catalysts driving it. But for ones that are tech-minded, there's a lot of information available. The Overledger is not a blockchain, so that is something very interesting to note. It's a DLT gateway, so distributed ledger technology gateway that acts as a platform and marketplace. This means you can multiple enterprises can communicate with each other via using the Overledger portal. So legacy financial systems can plug in, use the APIs provided by Quant, and essentially power and facilitate transactions, issuing of stablecoins, CBDCs, etc. So that's how the tech works. Very interesting because Quant is like this ultimate enterprise interoperability play. So we know that something like a DOT or an Atom have kind of very good tech for interoperability. If we're talking about blockchains talking to each other, if we're talking about enterprises talking to each other, that's kind of where Quant fits into a niche. Whenever I kind of look at a crypto investment, I always look like what niche and what use case is this token fulfilling? I think Quant does fulfill that void in the enterprise sector. And this is exactly what it's trying to do via their Overledger. So we can see here, this is kind of how it works. This is how a public permissionless blockchain works. This is how another type of blockchain works. And this is how an enterprise permission blockchain will work. It kind of gives you an overview here of what the Overledger is. We can also see that the Overledger network can link together payment APIs, so that power Amazon, Google, PayPal, Stripe, etc., with blockchains which can talk to each other like AVAX, Bitcoin, Cardano, Cosmos, Ethereum, and then you have enterprise blockchains as well. So Quant basically kind of bundles all these together in a multifaceted way, and it kind of links all these networks together. So it's not an L1, it connects networks together to allow enterprise and institutional oracles to transmit data to certain networks, and also connecting any network to any other network at scale without overheads or limits. So that's enough on the tech for now. Let's focus on some of the catalysts that are actually driving this latest Quant run. The first thing that I think is driving the run and is one of the main bullish factors behind like why people are investing in Quant is the CEO. So the CEO, Gilbert Verdian, essentially established the ISO standard for all of blockchain. So he's worked for the Federal Reserve, US Bank of England, ISO, the UE Commission, eHealth, Vocalink, the Ministry of Justice UK, HM Treasury, Ernst & Young, and even the Australian government. So he's had jobs in high places and he has connections in high places. So really, when you're betting on Quant, you are betting on the connections of Gilbert because he is the figurehead. He's the one that has pushed through a lot of these enterprise partnerships, and he's very well connected in terms of the global payments landscape because he has worked at a lot of organizations which work with big payments companies. So that's one of the main reasons why the tokens performed well, is because of Gilbert. But they also have Guy Dietrich, who's the managing director of Rockefeller Capital, who is the big Rockefeller money manager. We know they are one of the most ultra elite rich families on the planet. He manages their money, and he is also on the board. And this is the only board that he is on. So he's not on the board of any other company, just Quant, which is quite interesting as well. And another interesting bullish factor to note, just kind of like a little hot tip off the top of my head, is that if you work at XRP, they won't actually allow you to buy Quant. So if you have a job at Ripple, apparently I've just heard a rumor that if you work there, you're not actually allowed to buy Quant. Maybe that's because they are scared of Quant. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing to note. But funnily enough, Quant, as the digital asset investor said, is not actually competitive with XRP. It's a complement to XRP. He doesn't think it's a coincidence that digital assets with real utility are surging. No use case, no value. The utility bull run is the one. And this is the overarching narrative that is driving Quant. When people ask why it's pumping, it's this utility bull run topic that we are hearing pop up because people want to invest in things that are really making a play in the real world and aren't just driven by Ponzonomics. And I'm not one to come here and say that Quant is or isn't that, but they certainly do have that narrative, and that is what's driving it. So we'll look at a couple more factors which are driving it, and then I'm going to get into my thesis here as to whether we are overbought or underbought. You can tell that I'm taking a bullish tone whilst talking about it. I would say that's more just because I'm passionate about this stuff. Whether I'm bullish on a piece of technology or a project partnerships and the price that it's currently trading at are two very separate things. And I'll make that distinguishment in a few minutes after we finish talking about some of the catalysts here. So we do know that it has pumped. It broke through the $200 mark for the first time in a while. It also had an RSI 2 days ago of over 75, which is very, very high. This is the main reason for the price of Quant skyrocketing. And it's not the CEO, but it's actually what the CEO has been bringing to the business. And what this is the rise of CBDCs, or central bank digital currencies. We know now that many central banks across the world are now looking to launch their own iterations of digital currencies. They are doing this via a technology called central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. This is a way for them to distribute and use payments like you would using fiat currency on a digital distributed ledger, like a blockchain network, which is very interesting. There's been a lot of backlash to CBDCs because it does allow the government to have more control over your money. And I would say to some extent it does degrade the essence of why blockchain was created, because of the distinct decentralization and security advantages blockchain has. But the reality is, whether we like it or not, CBDCs are happening. Many central banks are now starting to work on CBDCs. I'm from Australia. I know our bank's starting to work on them. The Bank of England was starting to work on them. The Central Bank of Italy was starting to work on them. So we know for a fact that they are starting to kind of try to push out these CBDCs. Why does this matter for Quant? Well, there's a lot of speculation right now that the CEO, Gilbert, is pushing for the Quant network to be used in the issuing and management of CBDCs for central bank digital currencies. And this is pretty much the main factor that is contributing to the recent rise of the Quant price. It is the fact that Quant could potentially be working with CBDCs to start to power these CBDCs. And that is one of the major drivers behind some of the headlines we've seen lately. Now, the other driver of success for the Quant network is the demand for interoperability. We know how strong this narrative is to enable public and private blockchains to talk to each other with multiple enterprises as well. And for this reason, MIT is also working with the Quant network to create blockchain interoperability at the scale of the internet. So the speculation that the Quant network, with its interoperability feature, will play a central role in the development of central bank digital currencies, may have contributed to the rally in recent weeks as well. Quant also got headlines for its work with the Bank of England on working on their digital pound. So England could be one of the first countries where we see Quant used in this way. And just last weekend, executives attended Swift's Cybos conference, which focused on digital payments. So we know the Swift narrative is very strong with XRP, with Quant. There's many other projects under that category as well. And the ISO standard is something that Quant falls under. And I'd already talked about before, Guy Dietrich, the managing director at Rockefeller Capital, who joined the Quant network as a board member in 2009. We know the connections that Gilbert actually has. He said, by the way, this is a little bit of alpha, it's already on Twitter, but I'm providing to you guys now. This is a tweet that the CEO put out a couple of weeks ago, and he put this out on Telegram. He said that digital assets will be listed on traditional exchanges by the end of the year. We're already seeing the adoption of this with SIX and SDX in Europe. We're working with the AX to bring more digital assets, securities, and tokenized assets to 800 institutional traders in an already live and connected FINRA and SEC regulated exchange. If this isn't adoption by Wall Street, I don't know what is. Kind of interesting stuff there on the Quant side. He gives a lot of tidbits on the Telegram, but investing in a project can lead you astray unless the tokenomics are good. And I think this is the other bullish factor driving Quant. Its tokenomics. It is a very scarce asset. So it has a high scarcity and low token velocity. Its total supply is 14 million. So the utility of the Quant token itself is when you purchase an enterprise license, if you are a business wanting to use the Quant network, you will need to purchase that using Quant tokens. Similarly to if you were a Polkadot paratrain wanting to build on Polkadot, you need to purchase and stake DOT tokens. If you're an enterprise wanting to use the Quant network, you will need to purchase an enterprise license in Quant tokens. The platform also takes a percentage of transactions, so Quant essentially being burnt. Developer licenses are also required in Quant, ID and accounts. There's also Quant staking and transaction processing. That is the utility for the Quant token. So an enterprise license requires paying in Quant. The price to obtain this license is fixed in fiat, meaning if the price of Quant goes up, since the fiat amount stays the same, they will need to buy more Quant to match that specific value because fiat is converted into Quant from the treasury, so there isn't a need to purchase it from the exchange. The amount of Quant that was paid to obtain a license will be locked up for 12 months, so it's also locked, which reduces some of the supply pressure coming onto the market. Transaction processing, Quant tokens are used to sign, encrypt, and validate all transactions on the network. Gateways earn Quant for transaction processing, so the more transactions you process, the more Quant you earn, similarly to how a Bitcoin miner would earn Bitcoin through mining, or an Ethereum staker would earn Ethereum through staking, similarly to that. And another thing you should consider is he says, people like you are holding Quant for the long term. Most of us don't plan on giving up Quant anytime soon. There's a lot of us reducing the Quant in circulation, and even more so, there's also a demand side factor as well. So the tokenomics are one of the reasons why it's performing well because of its high scarcity. If we go on to CoinGecko, we can see that it's almost fully diluted, 14.5 out of 14.6. No crazy emissions to dump on your head, and a market cap of $2.8 billion. The fully diluted is obviously pretty much the same as well. So with all that stuff being said, you guys now know what Quant does. You know it's an interoperability blockchain. You know that it's being used to power CBDCs. You know that it is being used for an enterprise use case similarly to an XRP. The question is now, is that enough to justify a $2.8 billion valuation? Now, I'll give you my opinion on this. This is obviously not financial advice because at the end of the day, this is personal opinion. Whether you think it's worth $2.8 billion is different to if I think it's worth $2.8 billion. All I can tell you is whether I think it is worth it or not. Right now, there is one worrying factor for Quant. Obviously, it has come down from $216 back down to $182. And I think one of the reasons for this is Binance adding futures for Quant. Now, you might think on face value, Binance adding futures for Quant, that's bullish. Now more people can trade Quant, but it's actually a bad thing because typically when we see futures being launched for tokens that have performed very well, it's because there's a demand to actually short those tokens. And although this can be used on the flip side argument of demand for longing tokens on leverage, typically we do see perps utilized in terms of a listing if there is a high demand for shorting. It being listed on futures does open up demand for shorts a little bit more so, or at least accessibility for shorts more so than if it just had a spot trading market. So one of the early indicators that we may be reaching a top, we have seen this before when other assets start to top, they will get a futures listing on like a Binance or a ByBit, and that is one of the main the main kind of telltale signs that we are approaching at least a local top. I did a tweet on this which kind of sums up why Quant is bullish. Its use case for CBDCs, the CEO, interoperability, its partnerships with CLA Chain and Oracle, its price is up heaps, its social engagement is up heaps. But this is also a backfired argument as well, because although the price is up 390% and the social engagement's up 222%, I have not seen this amount of shilling on a token in a long, long time. And I haven't seen, I haven't gone onto my feed and seen so much quant stuff in a while. Like I literally went through Twitter yesterday, which is quant, which is kind of crazy. And typically when this happens, it is usually an indicator, not always, but usually an indicator that we are reaching some sort of top on a token. And that is what worries me about investing in quant at these levels. It's the fact that it's so hyped. It's being talked about so much. The social engagement is so strong. It's so bullish that it hurts. And usually when something is so bullish that it hurts, that's not the time to be buying. And usually when something is so bearish that it hurts, that's not the time to be selling. You guys know, like when the price of an asset is at its lowest, that is when you feel your worst. And when the price of an asset is at its highest, that's when you feel like a genius and you want to buy more. So when it comes to quant, I am very cognizant of past mistakes when it comes to trading altcoins. And I am being a lot more measured with my approach to getting entries. Now, have we verified that Quant is a good project? In my opinion, I think it is a good project. Now, whether they can succeed on this enterprise vision and actually power CBDCs, we don't know yet. Because although the Quant tokenomics are very good, it does rely on real adoption. I do think the CEO is one of the best people to drive this forward. And I do think the team with their partnerships is the best team to drive this forward in terms of actually achieving that vision. But there's no guarantees just because they have big partnerships that they can execute and really get traditional financial adoption. So although I think it's good tech, there's no guarantees there. So we have to be wary of that when we're doing crazy price models based on the tokenomics, which are objectively pretty damn good. But in terms of its latest pump in the price, it does make it hard to buy in at these levels. So this is something that I've now got on my radar for next cycle. We've missed the big move. If you own Quant now, you're very happy. And I think, you can probably hold. It's completely up to you what you do. But you'd probably feel safe holding this for the long term. For me, since I don't have an initial entry, it's on my radar for next cycle, but I won't FOMO in at these levels. Now, if we do get a big pullback, maybe if it pulls back at 40, 50% over the next few months, if we do see a drop in the Bitcoin price, this is definitely one that's on my accumulation list because the vision that they're trying to execute is a multi-year vision. And I don't see this as something that's just going to play out in Q4. So anyone on Twitter telling you that this is going to pump in the next couple of months and you're going to miss it to $1,000 like the title says, I don't think that's the case. Now, on the thumbnail, I said quant to $1,000 question mark. I will answer that question because I always believe in addressing the thumbnails in the videos, of course. And I don't think that's happening this year. I think that's ludicrous. Anyone saying that. Over the long term, sure, over a 4 to 5 year time horizon, it could. I don't see that happening within the next 6 months, to be completely honest with you. And that's just my opinion. I may be wrong, but just based on what I've seen, when a token's this hyped, typically there is definitely a cool down. Could it go on another leg up? For sure, but that's not a reason to FOMO in because whenever we open a trade, it's about risk reward, right? It's always about the potential upside versus the potential downside. And yeah, you could squeeze another 2x out of this right now and you could make some good money. And if you're a trader, you may enjoy trading this token. But at the same time, the risk to the downside is also 70, 80, 90%. And I don't think the risk to the upside necessarily outweighs that in the short term. Now, in the long term, I think it definitely could, and that's why it's one I've got on my radar for next cycle. I would just love to see some of these partnerships developing some fruits. I would love to see some actual usage on this chain before I invest based on speculation. However, the tech is very promising. So yeah, it's on my radar. I'm not buying a crap ton now, but it's definitely one that I've got on my radar, and I think it really does highlight the ISO narrative as a whole. Potentially, we take a look at some of these other projects which are slightly less hyped in the market. There are a couple that I'm looking at. You've got MNT, or is it MWT? You've got DAG. You've got Hedera that's doing a similar thing. You've got some other payments networks, XRP being one of the major ones. There are a few networks that potentially can, that haven't rallied, that can rally in a similar fashion to what Quant has. But I think that is a topic for a future video because I would love to do a deep dive on some of these and give you more in-depth information. You guys know right now, I am very much so in research mode. I'm spending hours and hours and hours a day researching small caps. I have found a couple very promising ones. I'm just obsessed with researching small caps at the moment, and hopefully I can help you guys out with giving you some tokens that I think can perform extremely well next cycle, that can 50, 100x. Obviously, it's wishful thinking, but genuinely some of the tokens I've come across, I'm baffled why they're so cheap. And we'll keep getting into those in the shows. And I appreciate everyone that is watching the shows every single day. So let me know what you think of Quant in. Sorry, I'm just it's dusty in this room. Damn, really dusty. Let me know what you think of Quant in the description. In the comments. Sorry. Do you like Quant? Do you not like Quant? Is it something you're buying? Are you not buying? I'd love to hear your opinion. Also, make sure you smash the like button if you did enjoy this video, and subscribe for future content. I want to go live now, though, on Instagram, because I want to have a little bit, guys. I haven't done this in a few days. I haven't gone live on Insta. So let me just log into my account and click going live. This is my Instagram, by the way, guys. It's Miles_Deutscher, because some of you may have more questions on Quant. Maybe some of you may have more questions on some of the altcoins I've been talking about. And if you want to ask those questions, why not do so on the Instagram? So link in the description to that. You should be able to see it underneath the exchange links here. Give me a follow if you're not already following. I do follow some people back for following me. And yeah, we'll hang out on Instagram for a little bit. There's a fake crypto over here, but I'm going to follow a couple of you guys back now. All right, cool. I'll see you over there. I'm live right now on my other screen, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.